is the title. Around the block and around the world, people are mourning the passage of technology visionary Steve Jobs. Like countless others, our next speaker grew up using many of the technology tools that Steve Jobs and his team at Apple helped pioneer. But Kevin says that Mr. Jobs didn't just transform technology, he transformed communications and presentations. This speech is Kevin's first speech from the Speaking to Inform manual. Please help me welcome Kevin Lerner!
Fellow Toastmasters, we're going to ask everybody to rotate, as Dick already did, because the person I'm going to speak about caused all of us to turn the way we look at things. And as I was walking in my neighborhood in Rainberry Lake in Delray Beach on Wednesday night, rehearsing a speech that I was already prepared to give, weak words, really bad things to say in a speech, I got a text message. And the text message came through from my partner and said, Steve Jobs passed away. And I paused, and I gasped, and I looked at my phone, and I realized that the very person that Rudy was talking about, this very revolutionary Steve Jobs, I was reading about his passing on the very invention that he helped pioneer. Steve Jobs was a revolutionary in communications and computers, a legend, a pioneer. He invented the Apple computer, he invented the Macintosh, he invented the iPhone, the iPad, the iPod. He invented the first full-length animated feature. Anyone know what it is? That's Toy Story, exactly, which remains the #1 ranking animated movie out there. He revolutionized technology. He made it personal and personable. There's a big difference. And at the same time, a lot of people, as we're looking back on Steve Jobs, we're realizing that he also had an elegance, not just in his products, but in the way he presented. His simplicity in design and communications, breakthrough internet communicator. The designs had a simplicity. His speech had a simplicity. There was an elegance, a simpleness about it. Analyzing each word. He rehearsed, he took time, he made his points to the common person dressed like a common person. And that's one of the differences that made Apple and Steve Jobs so innovative. So, let's take a few minutes and look back on my involvement with Apple and Steve Jobs. I started using Apple products at the early age of 13. Here I am in Mr. Zaytock's 9th grade computer class with a small group of other computer geeks. And we were all battling back and forth whether it was the Apple or the PC that was going to be the great next computer. And some people went with the PC, some people went with the Apple. I'm lucky, for a few years, I actually went with the Apple. Like a little geek, I had the Apple set up in my room. There's the Apple IIe computer with the space shuttle. As a teenager, I loved it. I was able to do all kinds of things with it. And then, in 1984, a great year, the Apple Macintosh was released. Anyone remember that
Sure.
pioneering moment with the commercial, that revolutionary computer commercial came out in the Super Bowl? Well, I was a little underwhelmed with the Mac. I said, this is too simple. This was too basic. Where's all the features? Where's all the power? Where's the ability to get in and program and get underneath the hood of a computer? And for several years, I went to the IBM PC using Windows. And I still, even to this day, feel a bit more comfortable and potent using Windows. There's a lot more that I can do with it. I still think that it's like writing with my right hand with Windows, and using the Mac is a little bit using my left hand. But still, the Mac has revolutionized the way things get done. My very first presentation was done in Microsoft PowerPoint on the PC. And it wasn't until a few years later that Apple Macintosh came out with their version of Keynote. At the same time all of this was going on, my friend Neil and I were battling it out with his Mac and my Dell. I'm looking on saying, but it can't do everything that the Windows machine does. And Neil said, just you wait, this will revolutionize things. It's coming. And one of the pioneering times happened when, well, Rudy bought his Macintosh, and he was in love. So back at the home front, we were also having battles. I was the Windows guy. Rudy was the elegant, simple PC guy. With a push of a button, his whole world lit up. And he continues to be a pioneer using the Apple. But it wasn't until the iPod was released that Steve Jobs made this announcement in front of millions of people that the power of great graphics was made clear to me. And this simple graphic came out, just showing the number of iPods that are expected to be shown. And also another thing that hit home to me about the power of computers and the Macintosh was Al Gore's movie, The Inconvenient Truth, which featured elegant graphics made with a computer application called Keynote, Apple Keynote. Even the names of their programs, the names of their tools are simple, one-line, two-line words. It hits home and it makes a point. And the graphics for Keynote, for Al Gore's speech, were made by a colleague of mine, and she and I have had a lot of talks over the years. Nancy Duarte, she's based up in Seattle, and I was just so proud of her that she had landed this account, mainly because she was using a Mac. There were also a number of other innovations that I resisted. The iPhone was out, but I was still using a brick-sized AT&T phone. But then I couldn't resist anymore. The iPhone came out and I said, now I can give a presentation on my phone. Not only can I give a presentation and display it to the whole world in the palm of my hand, each one of us can do this, I can actually control the presentation. What I'm doing right now with this phone is controlling that computer from back there, not just through a wireless connection, but through the internet. Pretty amazing stuff. But it's not just the presentations and the technology, it's the presentation secrets. And I'm not the only one to say this and to praise Steve Jobs for his presentation secrets. Carmine Gallo, a colleague of mine, wrote a book, The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. He talked about the importance of thinking and sketching and brainstorming, avoiding bullet points, practicing and practicing and practicing. A few other points. Use clean, simple sentences. Look common when you're presenting. Show it. If you can show what you're talking about, do it. Show it rather than say it. And dream and believe. It's all possible, thanks in part to the technology that Steve Jobs helped to pioneer, and will continue. His legacy will live on, and I hope that we all are able to embrace it, not just in our technology, but in the way that he presented as well.